Now, this is going to be a very short rundown on the VI editor, and the reason it's a short rundown is that you have as a document a VI guide that I wrote summarizing the main points of the VI editor, and you can get almost anything you need from that, or if you like, by simply typing VI tutorial at Google and taking any of the multiple thousands of hits that are out there. Everybody and their dog has a VI guide of one sort or another, and you can choose one that you like. There are also VI cheat sheets available to give you a shorthand summary of all the different keystroke commands for VI. So those are available as well. The main point is to get in and do a VI session. Don't just read the documentation. Per usual, that'll just bore you. What you want to do with any kind of detailed stuff like this, or at least what always works for me, is go in and try it out. So hopefully this little quickie session will induce you to do that. Let me do a brief demo of VI for you. Again, drawing on what's already in the document that you have. I'm going to mess around with the song file here. And I'm going to do a VI session. And by the way, don't call it Vi. And people do that sometimes. And it's the same irritating pattern as calling Frisco or calling San Francisco Frisco. It's something just about that bothers Unix users. So it is VI, and I'm going to VI the song file, which is the output of the 99 or 100 bottles of beer on the wall song, and going to do a little editing on that. Now the document does describe the J, which I'm typing here, K to go up, L to move to the left, and H to move right commands. Those are right next to your, right underneath your right hand, and so they are a convenient way to move around the file. You can always use the arrow keys if you like as well, but that's a nice, faster way to do it. We can jump around a little more quickly with W to go by words through something, or B to go back by words. I can go to the end of a line with a $, to the beginning of a line with a 0. Excuse me, I hit an up arrow there too. $, or 0. So various different quick movement commands. I can go down an entire screen at a time with Control F, and that'll jump me one screen at a time, or Control B to go backward, or if you like half screens, Control U and Control D for up and down. So page scrolling, again covered in the document. I can search, and here you would in a normal editor have a sort of dialog pop up. You'd probably hit Control F and get a little thing where you enter the search key. Instead here you type /, and as you can see down at the bottom the cursor moves. And this is true for a number of VI commands. They need more input and they'll drop to the bottom of the screen, and you put in what you want there. So let's see, beer should be a fairly common search string in this document. So we have /beer. And it jumps to the next occurrence of beer, of course. If I want to jump to the one after that, I hit the N key. Once again, you don't have to memorize these from the lecture. Just look at the document. And that'll jump me to the next one, so I can kind of scroll my way through all the beer instances. If I want to go backward, by the way, I don't think I mentioned this in the document. It's Shift-N, capital N, to go backwards through all the beer instances. If I want to search in a backward direction to begin with, I use question mark. Beer, and that will go backward through the document. I'm just hitting normal N here. It always wraps around to the end, by the way. When we get to the top, it'll flip down to the bottom and wrap around in either direction. That's not an option, it just does that automatically. So there's a little bit on searching. Now, you can also search within a line. If, for instance, I want to go within the line I'm at right here, if I want to go to the W in wall, I type lowercase f and then W. Now, an aside here that is mentioned in the document, a lot of commands, all commands in VI, are done with letters on the keyboard, and they don't show up on the screen when you do them. They are just responded to. This can be especially confusing when it's a several letter command. If I type F, the VI editor is now waiting for me to type what I want to find within the current line, what letter I want to find. And whatever I type next, that's the letter it will find for me. If I forget that I typed the F, then I'll be a little surprised when I type some other letter and it finds that for me when I thought it was going to do something else. So keep track of the commands you're entering, especially multi-letter ones, because the VI editor is certainly doing so. You can find in a backward direction, by the way, if you want. Capital F and, oops, excuse me. Sorry, did an inadvertent scroll there. Capital F and say 7. And that runs me back to the most recent occurrence of 7 in the line. This only works within the line, these F and capital F and lowercase f. Okay, you can go to a particular line number if you want to. And again, this is one of those multi-character, no response until it's all done commands. If I want to go to line number 20 in this file, I'm going to type 20. Nothing happens yet. Type G, capital G, and that'll take me to the 20th line, which happens to be that space there between the 96 bottles of beer on the wall. You can tell what line you're on with Control G, and at the bottom it'll tell you the line number, or at least how far through the thing you are. Oh, no, there's the line number over here. Line number 20, and we are 4% of the way through a 500-line file. Again, that bottommost line often shows you information, not actual file content. Now, so far we've done moving around and searching and so forth, but you also, of course, want to edit a file. Given the fact that I've been typing in commands as keys, how does VI know when I type, say, FW, that I don't want to insert an FW into the file as opposed to find a W on the current line? This is a problem when you don't have menus and mice and icons to click and all of that. Everything has to be done through keys on the board. And VI's solution to this is to have two different modes, a concept we've talked about earlier in the Unix discussions. The mode we're in when you start VI is a search mode, or an editing mode where you can move around in the file. When you do a command that adds information to the file, and several of them do, you drop into edit mode. I'm going to do an I command, just the letter I. But as soon as I do, VI changes mode. And now all the things that might have been search commands and so forth are taken as text to type directly into the document wherever the cursor is. I'll do an FW here. There I just typed FW into the document. I didn't get a command at all. Anything I type will go into the document. This continues until I hit escape to stop the insert mode. And it will show you that you're in insert mode with this little insert down at the bottom to remind you. But this can be a little confusing. If you lose track of which mode you're in, you're going to find yourself either inserting commands into your document. That's not so bad because you can undo them. But far worse is the other way around. You think you're typing something into the document, and in fact you're doing a bunch of commands. So if I'd had some word that had a bunch of X's in it, as it turns out X removes a character, I'm suddenly removing characters from my document, where I thought I was just typing X's into the document as content. Keep careful track of which mode you're in. And remember, of course, also that the VI session we're in does not allow any of the normal Unix commands, no RM or copy or ls or any of that. This is a separate program running, and it has its own set of commands in the two different modes we're talking about. To go back to Unix commands, you'd have to quit the VI session altogether. I'm going to hit escape now and get out of that insert mode. I've inserted my FW. Okay. There are other commands for modifying and editing the file, of course. X is quite convenient. It removes a character, and it doesn't go into insert mode. It just drops whatever character is underneath the cursor. So I'll get rid of the F and the W by hitting X a couple of times. Okay. Surprising how often the subtle distinction of adding before or after the cursor matters. I did the I command to add something before the cursor. If I use an A command, it'll add right after the cursor. And then escape to get back out of that insert mode. Very often you want to add a new line of code, especially if you're programming. You can do that with an O command, which will add a line below the current line. And again, we're back in insert mode. And add a new line there and hit escape. And I am then back out of insert mode. A typical pattern, by the way, a capital O will add a line above the current one. Small but sometimes useful distinction. Again, a brief reminder, I'm hoping that you are trying this out yourself as you watch this lecture and working through the accompanying document. DD removes a line, 2 Ds in a row. And like with many VI commands, you can remove multiple times by prefacing the command with a count. For instance, if I want to remove 3 lines here, I'm going to hit 3 and then DD. and 3 lines will go away instead. This can be a little dangerous, by the way. Let me illustrate something not in the document. If I inadvertently type 9 and then said, oh, no, I didn't mean to do a 9, and then I type A to insert something, hello, escape, I get 9 hellos. So typing digits is understood by VI, this is again in command mode, not in insert mode, is understood by VI to mean whatever is about to come, do it multiple times. Use it with caution. I'll do a DD to get rid of this unwanted line. The DD, 2 deletes, for deleting a line is really one variant of the D command in general. The D key does all sorts of deletions. Do it twice and you delete a line. If you want to delete a word, say I would like bottles to be removed here, I'll type DW. And that combines the D command with the W, which would have moved us forward a word, right? And it deletes 1 word. Or if I'd care to delete 3 words, you should be able to predict by now that that would be 3DW, and 3 words go away. By the way, doing all this damage to the file, it might be useful to point out there is an undo, which is not the standard these days Control Z. Instead, it's a U for undo. So I'm going to hit U here and undo what I just did. And I'll hit U again and undo the one before, and so forth. It is a general undo back to the first change you made to the file. That's new, by the way. Older versions of VI will not allow more than 1 undo. That may seem awfully limiting, but remember that even the idea of doing a reversal of a command was hot stuff, I mean, amazing in the late 70s and early 80s when this application was first designed. Pathetic as it may sound, VI was an astonishing thing to look at in, say, 1980, I guess it was 83 or 4 when I first saw it, maybe 81 or 2. I remember watching some guy use this thing and do edits right on the screen like that. Compared to what we'd had before, it was amazing. Of course, compared to what we have today, it's pretty creaky. But it does have still a lot of convenience if you're doing code. Not a great document editor by any means, VI, but as a code editor, it's pretty good, especially because it's very line-centered. You can drop whole lines and move things around and so forth. And speaking of moving things around, VI has its own equivalent of cut and paste. If you do a delete, I'll do 3DD here and drop 3 lines out. That is held in a clipboard of sorts, and you can put it back with a P command. I'll go up here and put those 3 lines back, and they'll go up where I did. Again, pretty much a cut and paste arrangement, but you have to use a VI command to do the deletion and then a P to put it back wherever you like. So how would I do a find and replace? Let's say I want to change beer to Coke. So I'm going to look for beer, and I'm going to change the word beer to Coke. Now, first of all, we need to talk about the C command, which we haven't mentioned yet. C deletes something, but then also puts you in insert mode so you can insert something to replace it. So CW, for instance, would change, C standing for change a word, CW. It deleted the word, as you can see, but if you look at the bottom of the screen, I'm also in insert mode and expected to add something. So it's a combination of D and I, delete and insert, in just one letter, C. So let's change that to Coke. Hit escape to get out of insert mode. If you're like most VI beginners, you will repeatedly find yourself entering commands into your file until you remember to instinctively hit that escape to get out of insert mode. Now I can do a N to find the next instance of beer. I did a slash to get this one, and that'll drop me to the beer on the line below. I want to repeat the change command. I could, of course, do that by just retyping it, but the dot key will repeat whatever editing command you most recently performed. So if I hit dot, it does that again. And now what I am going to do is a series of N and dot, N and dot. A find and replace, in other words, of an old school style at least. If I don't want to replace one of them, I hit N and pass on to the next N, and then do a dot where I do want to replace, and I can be selective about it. It's not quite as pretty as a menu-based dialog, would be in a modern editor. But at the same time, if you're used to the keystrokes, it's a lot faster. You never take your hands off the board at all. And so you can do these kinds of edits quite quickly. A couple of incidental commands here. J, for instance, capital J, joins two lines together. Something you often want to do when you're writing code. And so a single keystroke will do that. Capital J, remember. And then if we had a cut and paste before where we did a delete and then a put, what about a yank or copy and paste? In VI that's called yanking. And the Y command will do that. Capital Y to yank a line. So let's say I want to yank 3 lines. I type 3, capital Y. By the way, YY, lowercase YY also works, either one. And what I just did is no apparent change to the file, but I copied 3 lines into the clipboard in effect. And now I'll go down and say put them down here, paste them, and they'll be repeated. So cut and paste, do a delete and a put. Copy and paste, do a yank and a put. And by the way, you can also yank individual words with a lowercase y. So Y, W yanks bottles, and P puts the bottles I just yanked in the current cursor location, wherever I want it to be. Doing a little undo there to get it in the right spot. Now, these are just a few of the commands available in VI. But what I'm hoping you get from this session and from working through these commands is a feel for working with VI and being comfortable with it. And then go and find yourself a VI cheat sheet. Just type VI cheat sheet at Google and pick the one you like. And learn a few more VI commands each time you use the tool. It's an investment worth making. It seems very creaky and old school if you're used to newer things, but as I've pointed out, once you get these commands down, you can move a lot faster in editing code. And so even today, plenty of people use VI editors. There are even VI keystroke mappings for editors like Eclipse or for IDEs like Eclipse, if you like the VI keystrokes. So given the amount of time you're going to spend writing code in your upcoming career and using Unix, please do make the investment to use VI. People like to use simpler editors, and there are some. There's one called Pico, for instance, and I've forgotten the other simple one that's been flying around lately. Those are much more direct than VI, just arrow around and type a few keystrokes, and it doesn't have the rich set of commands VI does. As I like to tell people, using one of those simple editors on the job is like going to work on a tricycle. People will laugh at you. You can get to work on a tricycle, but you'll get ribbed for it. So you want to use VI just to be part of the culture of Unix, and again, for the convenience once you've made the investment. Now, a final note here. To get out of VI, there are several options. The one in the document says Shift-ZZ, and that will work. So if I do a Shift-ZZ, I'll exit VI and be back at my normal Unix prompt here with the edit session complete. But going back into VI now, we'll try other possibilities. What if I make some horrible mistake? I'm going to delete 34 lines here, and I don't care to undo it. Maybe it's just gotten too complicated to undo it all. And I want to leave without saving. You can type :Q, and that will quit VI, but it will badger you to save the file. It worries that you didn't save your last changes. So it's :Q, and as that little highlighted bar indicated, exclamation point. And that is, get me out of here and don't save. And so there's another alternative you might find useful. The thing you definitely never want to do is this, Control-Z. It looks like it ended the VI session. I'm back at Unix. It even says stopped VI song, as though it finished up that session. But it didn't. The VI program is still running. It's like backgrounding or minimizing something in a Windows system. No minimize bar in this Unix environment, but the concept is still there. And we have now a program that, like a word processor window that's merely been minimized and not saved, is still running. You can even see the currently minimized, or to use the Unix term, backgrounded file by typing jobs. And you can see that there is this VI song session still running. To bring it back to the foreground, like maximizing a window would be, you type FG for foreground. That's a Unix command. And we're right back in the edit session with everything we've done still there, picking up where we left off. You don't really end it then until you hit capital ZZ. The danger, by the way, of Control Z, and you'll see beginners caught up with this, is that after you've done it about 10 times, you'll end up with 10 different sessions, all of them with different versions of the file, not yet written out, and waiting for you to restart them. You might even wind up accidentally restarting an earlier one, writing out its contents and wiping out later edits and so forth. So avoid that Control Z. That's it for our VI session. Next up will be a discussion on C compilation in Unix.